And I believe it should be joint physical custody. So I want to find out, why do you want primary?
Alex here with a Perspectives video on high conflict child custody. Donna Wilburn, a licensed marriage and family therapist with Red Rock Counseling, is going to be interviewing family law attorney Mary Perry, who is running for Department P of the 8th Judicial District Court.
Okay, so I'm Donna Wilburn. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I've been working in the court system, providing services, evaluations, reunification, etc., for about 15 years now. And I've learned that, there's a lot of folks going up there. There's a lot of new positions, a lot of judicial candidates right now. And even I, after working in the system, even I didn't have a lot of information regarding how to vote, who to vote for, whatever. So I thought it would be a good idea to interview some folks and get to know them a little bit and hear their perspective about, what they want to do when they're on the bench. And I'm hoping that other people will feel more informed after this. Okay. So let me know a little bit about what your name is, what position you're going for, and why you think you're going to be a good candidate for that.
Well, my name is Mary Perry, and I am running for Department P.
Okay.
The judge that is currently there has decided not to run for re-election. She's been there for a long time, really good judge. Mm-hmm. And so, got to go P for Perry.
Okay.
It helps people remember.
It does. That would help me remember.
Yeah.
I get it.
It helps people remember. So it's P for Perry. And that...
why do you think you're the best candidate out of the group? What do you think?
I like telling people that I had life outside of the law.
Mm-hmm.
When I graduated high school, I didn't go directly into college. I went out, goofed around, got pregnant, had a baby, worked in food serving, and I was a hostess. And then
so you know what it's like to be real.
I know what it's like to be
done
real.
this real thing.
Yes, and then I joined the Air Force. So no, I know what it's like to wear that uniform and to have the UCMJ breathing down my neck and having somebody to where you can't tell them I quit. I know what that's like. And then at 21, I joined the Air Force.
Sounds like you might know what pressure feels
Well,
like.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
you've been under pressure, you know what that got things to do.
Yes, ma'am.
So one of the things that I tend to focus a lot on are these high conflict divorce cases.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
high conflict divorce typically involve one or more parties may have a personality disorder, just a high conflict personality, a lot of anger, a lot of hurt, a lot of pain, so that they're not the most rational at the time and maybe are having a hard time prioritizing the kids.
Mm-hmm.
So as a judge, when this comes in front of you, how do you know you're working with a high conflict case? What are some of the red flags? And then how do you handle that? Is it different than a more cooperative case of parents who seem to get along?
It's handled a lot differently when there's a high conflict case.
So how do you know it's even a high conflict case?
A lot of times you can tell just by looking at the different facts, what the people say, their demeanor in the courtroom. If they're sitting there saying, well, this man beats me all the time and he shouldn't be allowed to do this, but yet they seem very aggressive, that's kind of a red flag.
Mm-hmm.
That should be something like, okay, who's really got the problem here?
So you start thinking like, is this all the information?
Correct.
Okay.
Is this really all the information? So, whoever is sitting there on the bench, they need to be willing to ask questions and try to get to know the parties a little bit better. Find out what the truth is, and then if those red flags are still there, then maybe, even without the attorneys asking for it, maybe the judge needs to say, I may need an expert to look into this to see what the real problem is.
So not taking it just as face value, what they say must be the whole story.
Correct.
That you are, they call it critical thinker, that you're
Yes.
going, the way you look at things is, let me look underneath, let me look for signs of things, red flags, things like that. And when you see that, you're thinking you need more information maybe from an expert.
Correct. And that's only if kids are involved.
Mm-hmm.
If there's no kids involved, then it's really none of my business because they're
Right.
getting a divorce, they're going to go their own separate directions anyway. If there's kids involved, we're going to be dealing with them until the last child reaches 18.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get a handle on it from the very beginning to see what's really happening.
Right. So there's trainings out there, conferences out there. I belong to a group called AFCC that's, for really high conflict stuff. So as a lawyer, and maybe like how many years you've been doing that, have you received any training or courses regarding this particular crowd?
The actual training on this crowd, I have not. I do have way too many hours when it comes to psychology in my undergraduate degree.
Oh, really?
it's so fascinating.
It
The
is.
different, my favorite course was personality development.
Okay.
And I just, I really enjoy the subjects and the different areas of that and how the mind can work. And then when there's a little kink in it, okay, what can be done?
Is that a topic you're interested in that you like seek information about even
I
now?
do.
Do you?
One of my favorite books I read was Walking on Eggshells.
Okay.
And
That does explain some personality disorder
It
traits and
does,
all. Yes, it
yeah.
does.
it also, it also gives you those little red flags to watch out for. So, I can catch it in my
Interesting.
clients now. And then when they're talking about the opposing party, I can sometimes catch it then. And if we're just now starting out, I decide at that point, do I really want to get involved in another one of these or not? I
And that's
usually
what
do.
I was going to ask. So, they are high conflict. That
Yes.
usually means someone's going to be pushing boundaries and maybe wanting a lot of communication or pressuring you. So when you do have, let's say someone comes in and you do notice those red flags, how do you handle that?
Well, first of all, is it the red flag on my client's part or is it the red flag on the other client's part? The law is really set on how it is. So, you've got to look, is there going to be a way? If they're asking for primary physical custody, I don't like primary unless there's a good reason why. I believe it should be joint physical custody. So I want to find out, why do you want primary? Then, if I can't get them to understand that the judge is going to have to start at primary and go, then we have to find good reasons. That's the truth.
Right.
And when they start saying, well, this person does this person does that, okay, well, give me the text messages, give me the proof. Well, I don't have any. Then I said, well, then right now we're not going to be able to do that. You're going to have to give me the stuff. And,
Right.
if you can't prove it to me, you're not going to be able to prove it to the judge. So the judge will have to go with joint physical.
So how do you bring that experience into the courtroom as the judge?
You start out with it's going to be joint physical custody. You look at the evidence. Hearsay is not good evidence.
Okay, I was going to
Yeah.
ask that question because for some reason it seems that is counted as evidence sometimes.
He said, she said can always work, but do you have a police report that backs you up? Is there a conviction? Well, you still have to get to the clear and convincing evidence when it comes to the conviction on domestic violence, if the person pled to it. If it was a trial and it was proved beyond a reasonable doubt,
Right.
then you don't have to worry about that. But the clear and convincing evidence is still there. So, you just, to go in there and make a decision as a judge, you've really got to look at it as a whole. What is going on? Is there a possibility where the husband set the woman up, and kind of pushed her? Because a lot of people don't recognize that little pushing is domestic violence as well.
The
Who was really-
provoking,
Yeah,
I
the
call it poke,
provoking.
poke, poke, explode.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Look how crazy
now we got
they
to
are.
call the cops.
Yeah.
I've had a case where the woman was trying to get the keys out of the husband's pocket. It broke her fingernail. She called the cops and he got arrested.
Oh,
To me, that's not
but
domestic
she was
violence.
grabbing on him. Right.
Causing her fingernail to get broke was not domestic violence, but he was the one who pled to it because it was cheaper than spending the money for an
Yeah,
attorney.
that's how the police handle it. Whoever has an injury.
Yeah, it doesn't matter
They're
why.
the victim or something.
Yeah, and you've got to have an experienced judge up there who has actually seen this and can understand that provocation should not be held against the person who finally got snapped after 20 years of having someone slap him in the face and all this other
I
stuff.
can't even tell you how relieving that is to hear because I do see that a lot and it doesn't seem like it's recognized that there's a possibility this person was provoked to do that
Correct.
versus, just off the wall just decides to get violent or something.
Yeah, yes. Now, if off the wall they get violent or there's a history of the violence, then that's a major red flag. Okay, the kids don't necessarily need to be with this person, but if it's one instance, what are the real facts behind it?
Right.
What happened immediately after that? I mean, if the boyfriend moved in immediately after, or even the girlfriend, because domestic violence goes both ways.
Right.
So, if the other party, the complaining party, brings somebody in within 2 hours, then you got to really look at, okay, what's the real reason behind all this stuff?
Right.
There's a lot of setting up, and you've got a lot of savvy women and there's a lot of savvy men. They've been through this before,
Right.
so they know how to get what they want because now I know the judges. I know they're going to give me primary if A, B, C, and D are there. Well, if you got the judges who sit there and has been on this side of the bench and has actually practiced and knows A, B, C, and D can be set up, then, you can actually get down to the truth of the
I like
matter.
that you really want to look for underlying information, not
Correct.
just easy peasy, come in, I hear you, here's my decision.
Yeah.
So a hot topic, and I, no joke, just heard this yesterday, a hot topic that comes up is there's a rumor or whatever you call it going around, that is when a child turns 13, 14 or whatever years old, they can decide who to live with. That's what I hear. And so what's your point of view about that particular statement?
I don't agree with it. 13, 14 years old, are they really mature enough to make a determination? What did daddy do to irritate them? Or what did mama say to them that made them say, I don't want to be with you anymore?
They took their cell phone.
Yeah, oh, that's, yeah.
That's usually
Yeah.
the number one reason is they took my cell phone.
I heard that because I went through the assist, it's, to assist with the
Okay.
suicidal people and everything, and I
Okay.
took a 2-day course to help talk them off the ledge.
Okay.
And one of the number one reasons for a teenager to commit suicide is they're taking the cell phone away from them.
It does
So,
make them react
It
strongly.
does react, that is a real trigger point, and what's it saying about society when that phone's more important than the relationship? So, to me, it probably involves a little bit of therapy, because the teenager needs to learn that phone, punishment needs to hurt for it to be effective. So if it's hurting you enough to not to want to see
You
that
gotta
parent
feel it
anymore,
kind of thing.
yeah, you got
but
to
not
feel
too
it to work.
much.
Yeah, not too much. Don't put marks on the kids.
Yeah.
Then that's a little bit too much. But
So if someone says that, or if someone comes across and goes, well, they're 14 years old, they don't want to live with that person anymore, so they should just not have to live with that person anymore.
why not?
So they don't want
Yeah,
to. At 14.
At 14 years old, they're not old enough to make the determination, and if they cannot articulate a good enough reason, then they're obviously not mature enough to make that decision. So too bad, they still need to go. And your job as a parent is to make them go.
Right.
If-
So that leads me to another thing that is a dilemma that comes out that I've seen is that in our system right now, let's say you do say, no, the child has to follow the orders.
Mhm.
No, the child has to do the custody visitation schedule. And they're not. And the parent that they're with is like, I can't pick them up and put them in the car. So how do you even enforce something like that, or what can you do? Because right now you have a minor violating a custody order
Mhm.
while in the care of an adult.
One of the first things that may need to happen is to get a professional such as yourself involved, because I can't necessarily question the child,
Right.
and I'm going to call them a child because at 14 they're acting like a child,
Right.
and I'm doing this stuff here. So I'm
Right.
going to try to get somebody like you involved to feel out maybe there's more. Maybe there's something more underlying that's happening that the child can't talk about.
Right.
It may be more than just taking that phone away. So let's find out a little bit more. You can get into the psyche, I can't.
Right.
You've got the training, I don't.
Right.
So I'm going to depend a little bit on professionals in some areas where it may be over my head. It's my ultimate decision making, but I'm going to get people like you involved.
And so outsourcing for more information is like an avenue that you would consider.
Yes.
So as you're looking at that and looking at the high conflict and mental health providers, and there's quite a few of us who do work with the court system, and then there's quite a few who are intimidated by working with the court system.
Yes.
So if someone does want to help out in that arena, what do you guys look for when it comes to working with a mental health provider? Are there certain factors, background, training? What would help you guys? Like, how can we help you?
Yeah. Well, one of the things, as long as you haven't had a lot of complaints with the bar, or not the bar,
Our
but
board.
the board,
Mhm.
and as long as there's not been a lot of complaints with the board, I'm going to look at that. Are you going to be willing to use a sliding scale for those who cannot afford the full services? A lot of people out there cannot afford the $8, $10, $12, $15,000 or more that these things can cost. So, will somebody be willing to use that sliding scale to meet what they can afford? What's been the past testimony? If one party's doing the paying and yet the therapist always sides with the person who's paying, I'm going to be looking out for
Right.
that too.
I've heard the term
So-
hired gun with that one.
Yeah, that would
If
be a good
whoever
deal.
pays you, you vote for them. then-
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the things like that I'm going to be looking out for. How have they really done it? Are they doing the job that we want them to do, or are they doing it just to get a paycheck? Some people have passion. I'm more likely to be walking down the hallway at the courthouse and seeing someone sitting there sad because they don't have an attorney and the other side does. I'm more likely to sit down and talk to them, get to know their case, and if it's something easy, I'll walk in the courtroom
Yeah,
with them.
that's how much
And
you
I-
love what you do,
I
that
love
you,
what I do, yes.
and I get that idea that you would do it for
Yeah.
free if you didn't have to pay bills and
I,
stuff like
you know,
that.
and I do a lot for free.
Do you?
I do a lot for free. And I don't necessarily go through the Legal Aid Center of Southern Nevada because I get enough of them coming in. I do free consultations.
Do you?
Yeah, so I get enough of them coming in and I take a look and I see what they're earning and what they do have and what they don't have. And when I see that there's an attorney on the other side, I can't let that person go in unrepresented. It's not fair. Everybody should have good representation and be on equal footing. And I already know most of the judges sitting over there is not going to award attorney's fees right off the bat.
So let's say that comes across
Mm-hmm.
your path, that you see one represented and one not. Is there something that you can say or do to help that situation be more balanced out rather than, one has a guard dog and one doesn't?
Well, one of the things is you could ask the question, may I ask why you don't have an attorney? And if they don't want to tell you, then okay, fine, you move on. But I say, well, I can't afford an attorney.
That's probably your number one reason.
Yeah,
I'm thinking.
and then you sit there and you take a look, can the other person afford 2 attorneys? Well, the other person may not be able to afford 2 attorneys, but why are they paying theirs? It's community property unless it's custody. So, there should be just as much money paid to one attorney as there is another.
Right.
So that's where I say, okay, you know what, why don't we give a couple weeks continuance? Sir, you have an attorney. She needs one. You're going to pay for it. She doesn't have a job, you do. Or ma'am. There's women that it's just the same way around.
Just so it's balanced out.
So that it's balanced out. Well, I can't afford hers and mine too. Well, we need to find a way. So how much do you have left over on retainer with this attorney? Well, I still got $2,500. Okay, you're going to give her that
Is that something
$2,500 for
that
her
you've seen
attorney.
happen?
No,
Oh.
but I
Because I
believe
was
in
like, gosh,
fairness.
that would be fair.
Family courts.
Because it's our money, right?
Yes,
It's
it's
still
our
our money. We're not
Correct.
divorced yet.
Correct.
So we
And-
should use our money so both of us have representation.
Correct.
Oh, I haven't even thought about it like that.
Yeah, both people should have that representation. One person should not walk in there. If the person does not want an attorney, then it's up to the judge to make sure that person is heard.
Right.
You can't let that attorney walk all over an unrepresented person. And I've seen a lot of judges who will only listen to the attorney. I've seen a judge say, well, I suggest you get an attorney if you want to be heard.
Oh, okay.
I've seen that, and it's like, there's no way I want to be a judge like that.
Right.
No
Right.
way. Just because you can't afford to have an attorney doesn't mean you shouldn't be listened to.
Right.
Unfortunately, with the background and it taken me until I was in my 30s to start law school, late 30s to start law school, I want to make sure that person is heard, and I'm going to understand their language. I was raised by truck drivers, so there's not much I haven't heard.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So, my background is going to allow me to understand what most of the litigants are going through, probably even better than their
Like
own
you can
attorneys.
relate. You
I
can
can
really relate. You know what it's like.
I can relate, and I know what it's like. I know to a degree what's probably needed for both households to work. And you've got to look at how are you going to make both households work. And I know I'm going to irritate one side or the other, maybe both sides, and then I'm doing my job right.
Right. They were saying, or I heard before, was if everyone loses equally or is upset equally or something like that, then you did good enough kind of thing. No one should be super excited and someone else is like crashing or something like that.
Yeah, and a lot of it could also be both sides could be happy
Yeah.
if you can find what is fair. It's got to be fair.
That would be
'Cause-
ideal.
Yeah. When it's just a child custody issue, then that comes around to different. You got different issues in child custody, but when it's a divorce, it has to be fair because you're a community. We're separating the community without a good reason why. That community needs to stay equal,
Right.
whether it's with between the two parties. And
So one thing I've seen I do a lot of reading and articles, and there is regarding the high conflict families, a team approach, where therapists and the attorneys and the court work together as a team to help this family function in a way that doesn't cause problems for the children. So as a judge looking at that, like how would you, is this something that you would consider, and how would you maybe work with the mental health, like how would you bring them in and what would you expect from them if you were going to use the team approach with especially really high conflict folk?
Yeah. The really high conflict folk working as a team, I would have to do a little bit more reading up
Okay.
on how that is actually working.
It's like accountability with the status checks and
Yeah.
make sure you're doing what you're supposed to be doing and things like that.
Yeah, I have no problems with having the status checks coming in, everybody, including the therapist or the professional. I'm gonna call it professional at this point. The professional coming in and giving a report. Well, mom's not really cooperating too well here. She's not wanting to allow the visitation. She keeps coming up with excuses. Well, then I may have to start getting a little bit meaner, for lack of a better word. And it's like, well, maybe we need to give dad more time so that mom recognizes what it's like. Sometimes the threat that, okay, now dad's going to have the 4 days, mom's going to have the 3 days.
And that's a big motivator is custody time.
Yeah,
So by saying there's a consequence and it may be in your time
yeah.
is a big motivator to get people to comply with the rules.
And I have no problems with using that as a motivator. I want to try to keep, work schedules and parenting time to where it's close to equal. But I also have no problems with, okay, mom, you know what? You've crossed that line one too many times. I'm giving dad primary right now, temporarily, until you start doing A, B, C, and D.
Maybe get help and talk to somebody. And
Yeah, you're now
I
going to
see
start
that.
doing therapy. You're going to get help, and then we'll slowly try to work it back in to see if it's working.
do you think you can do that? Because a lot of judges are really afraid to do that. They're going to have really mad people in front of them and possibly litigious people. So I've seen some intimidated judges who will not do that.
My question is do you think that it's in the best interest of the child? If you're telling me that it's in the best interest of the child to temporarily change custody, I'm going to do it because it's my job to protect the children as well. I may have the parents in front of me, but the children are the ones who are the victims to what mom and dad are doing.
Right.
And I'm not going to let children be a victim. They're going to be protected in my courtroom.
And you said you have kids,
I have one.
How old is that one?
She is now 38.
Oh, wow. So
I've got a 15-year-old grandson.
Do you?
Yes,
That's
I do.
cute. I love the grandchild thing.
Yeah.
So as we kind of close this up, somebody might want to ask questions or want to contact you or something.
Okay.
So what's the information, how to get in touch with you?
The best way to get in touch with me, where I'm going to communicate with them directly and it not be anyone in my campaign, is to contact me through my work email address. That's Mary, D as in Denise, at marydperrylaw.com.
So I want to thank you for coming in. It was
Thank you.
super. I swear I learned something every single time, and I get good ideas. And I'm hoping that if you get to take this forward, that you can help improve the system. I tell everyone that we got kind of a interesting system going on that needs a
Yes.
little work.
Yes.
So hopefully you'll want to put some effort into that.
Yes, ma'am, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to other professionals through you.
Please,
I appreciate that.
they're all going to be thankful for this information.
Thank
so
you.
thanks so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks.